Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. As the title of this video suggests, I'll be showing you speed paints of 4 illustrations today, but before I start, I wanted to explain the reason for why I made this video. I think I've been struggling with art block a bit recently. It's not that I don't want to draw, but whenever I sit down to try, I feel like I can't conjure up the energy to actually do anything substantial, even if I really want to. So to sort of break out of this slump, I decided to paint illustrations and limit myself to an hour maximum for each. Additionally, I wanted to focus on art styles and art subjects that I have very little experience with to get myself to try something new and sort of break out of my current habits and process. As a result, in this video you'll see 2 landscape speed paints and 2 portrait speed paints with a very painterly technique that I don't normally use. I hope you enjoy watching this video, and who knows, maybe you'll try something new from what I've learned here. That being said, the 2 landscapes in this video are admittedly not my best work, but I'm not going to be too harsh on myself because my experience drawing landscapes or backgrounds amounts to this one piece here and literally nothing else. That illustration's from 2018, by the way, so it's not like I even remember doing it. To get primed to do this video, I watched this video by Mark Brunet, I don't know, and it was really helpful to learn some solid basics. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I learned from that video now, but if you want the full experience, definitely go watch that. But obviously, after you like, subscribe, and comment how amazing I am under this video though, please do it. The biggest piece of advice from me, at least, was breaking things up into background, middle ground, or multiple midgrounds depending on complexity of the piece, and foreground. That way you can tweak things without having to worry too much about messing up the other layers. Of course, as someone who draws pretty much exclusively on one layer, this was like a revolutionary experience for me because it was just so easy and clean. Will I be incorporating this into my regular drawing process? Maybe. But it did make doing all these landscapes very chill. The foreground is meant to be the most detailed, and each layer gets progressively less detailed as you move back into the piece. This was something I struggled with a bit for 2 reasons. One, I sometimes want to add more details in the middle ground, but then they just become distracting and don't fit very well. And 2, I was experimenting with a lot of foliage brushes in this illustration. In terms of that second bit, it was really difficult for me to learn how often I should be using these sorts of brushes in the mid and background, where things are supposed to be a bit more vague and generally blurrier. By the way, if anyone's interested in the brushes I used, they were the Various Leaves Set 2 and Various Leaves Set 3 by Nagokoto, and the Grass Brush by Zweibel28 on Clip Studio Paint. They should be really easy to find just by searching if you want to download them on Clip Studio, but do comment below if you want them and can't find them, and I'd be happy to send the link. Also, if you're interested about the brushes I use generally, do feel free to ask because I like talking about things like that. This illustration is based on a photo I found from Pinterest that I thought had really pretty lighting, so I wanted to paint it. At first, I was sort of apprehensive because to me the foreground and the midground aren't immediately apparent as separate elements, but yeah, fake it till you make it, I guess. I just sort of chose where I thought they should be and kind of ran with it. All in all, this illustration took me, I believe, 30 minutes to do, so in the end, I guess it wasn't as complex as I thought it was. Another tip that I learned from the landscape tutorial video that I talked about earlier was that colors tend to get more blue as you go into the background because they're essentially blending with the sky. So even if you have a lot of foliage in your piece, as this one does, the foreground will have more of a greener grass, while if you have grass in the midground and the background, they progressively get more blue. Of course, I didn't really have to worry about that for this piece since I was sort of color picking from a reference image, but I think I can still kind of see that theory replicated here, especially with the grass as it's reflected in the sun of the sunset, getting sort of less saturated, definitely less green. I'm not big on color theory, as you probably can tell. I don't know a lot, but just even knowing that little tip helped me a lot to think about landscapes that I'm sure I'll draw in the future. But yeah, that's the first illustration done, adding a little frame to it, and here we go. I really liked this piece, but on to my second illustration. So for my second illustration, I went back to portraits and sort of my usual style of drawing because I wanted to take a break from landscapes. As a result, you'll see in this video that the 4 illustrations alternate between landscape, portrait, just because I wanted to add some variety to my life. Whenever I'm feeling uninspired or don't really know what to draw, I usually default on Tokyo Ghoul fan art, because Sui Ishida's style was really a big influence for me back when I started learning how to draw. Full disclosure, all of the pieces in this video are drawn based off of photos or illustrations, and this one is inspired by a piece of Sui Ishida's which shows Mutsuki, who is one of the characters in Tokyo Ghoul RE. While I usually don't like to draw directly based on other people's art, I wanted to focus on emulating the painting style and texture that Ishida includes in his works without really having to worry about composition or picking colors. I really liked the pastel paint splotches in the original and wanted to try incorporating those. Another thing I really like is that Ishida's illustrations sort of have this dark and frantic mood that can't be portrayed in the manga because there aren't any colors. Not to say that the manga doesn't effectively convey feeling. I absolutely think Ishida has some panels that are really, really good. But seeing his fully colored and rendered illustrations in such a painterly style has always been something I've been very drawn toward, and I always seem to go back to wanting to develop sort of a similar style, even though it's not really conveyed in most of my past videos. Of course, like many artists, I like to experiment with different styles and processes depending on what sort of mood I want to convey, so I imagine that elements of the painterly style I'm practicing here can definitely be incorporated into character design videos, but I do think they're particularly effective for illustrations. As you'll see, however, I didn't use any texture brushes and just relied on a flat marker brush from Sketch to Final. While this is the way I usually sketch in color, I discovered that it doesn't really work for a style like this one. I did manage to make it work, but while drawing the 4th illustration, I absolutely discovered the splendor of paint texture brushes and ended up going back to this one to add some stuff. Incidentally, I would highly recommend watching the process for the 4th illustration because I think it turned out the best of the 4, and I really hit my stride when it came to color picking and adding in texture while doing minimal line art. All in all though, I'm really happy with the way this illustration turned out because I got to practice techniques I'm not very familiar with and just complete something. Period. I've sort of been struggling with sitting down and actually completing a piece, so this sort of speed paint was really, really helpful for me. This piece took me about 30 minutes as well, I think the same as the previous piece. But the next 2, as you'll see, took me a little bit longer, about an hour each, which adds up to 3 hours. On that topic, I'm really surprised I could actually paint sort of completed-ish illustrations in this amount of time, because usually when I do these things, like a character design video, it takes me at least 2 hours to up to 6 hours, really depending on the complexity, so just seeing that I've finished something like this makes me very happy. And there is the 2nd illustration. I'm actually not going to show like a completed canvas because I add the 4th illustration to this canvas as well. Now on to the 3rd illustration, which is another landscape. For this one, I drew a landscape based off a screenshot I took while playing Elden Ring. With the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC coming out last year and Night Rain coming out very, very soon, so soon, can't wait. I've definitely had Elden Ring on the mind recently. This screenshot is where the first site of Grace in the Siofra, if that's how you pronounce it, Riverwell is, so it's underground. and I think this is the location. It's definitely somewhere underground, and I'm pretty sure it's Siofra, not Ansel. I chose this one because the waterfall in the background adds really cool backlighting, and all the underground areas, excluding the Lake of Rot, which sucks. I hate swamps. But all the other areas I think are really cool. I think my choice of screenshot definitely fits the mood of most of this video, since it's a very dark and sort of creepy area, but there's quite a big difference between drawing based off another illustration and drawing based off a video game screenshot. As you can see, this screenshot, or maybe you saw it at the beginning, maybe I didn't show it, I don't know. As maybe you can imagine, this screenshot is pretty detailed, and it was up to me to sort of decide how I wanted to simplify shapes to make everything readable in illustration form. In the end, I think I kind of struggled with doing that, so that back, mid, and foreground don't really read as clearly as I wanted them to, but once again, I've literally never done this before, so I'm not mad about it. Sometimes when illustrations like this don't go my way, I sort of worry about posting them online for people to see, but it's good to remind myself that ultimately this channel is something of a journal for me, where I can document my art progress, and making bad art is part of that process. Speaking of my channel, you may have noticed that I started posting shorts. I'm gonna be honest, I feel a little bit conflicted about posting them because I'm generally not a fan of short content. I think it's really disingenuous to show like, hey, look at this drawing I finished in 20 seconds, when in fact, like, I did spend probably a lot more time on it and a lot more effort, and there's a lot of process that goes into it. It's kind of the reason that I also don't use TikTok or Instagram. Just like having short content and watching it and looking at it just really messes with my attention span, and it's just not good for me or my self-image or anything. So I feel like by posting shorts, I've kind of like sold out to the algorithm and to like current trends, which is sort of true because yeah, I am posting short content, but at the same time I'm just posting it, I'm not really looking at it, and I don't actually watch YouTube shorts myself. I just kind of post and then leave. Similar to my channel. I mean, I watch YouTube videos, but like on an alternate account. I don't really interact with my own channel, just kind of posting, and then if people comment, I reply, but that's about it. So, I don't know. I know I just said that these videos are sort of like a journal for me and my art journey, but at the same time, there's this little bug in my head that's telling me, you should care about the algorithm, and you should care about how many followers you have, subscribers, whatever, and that means that you should post things that you know will get more traction, like shorts. So, you know, I was kind of like, these aren't really that hard to make. I already have all of the sort of files that go into making shorts. I know how to edit videos, it's 20 seconds of my life. So I don't really mind making them, but at the same time, I'm like, why am I doing this? Am I just doing this because I want other people to know about me? Like, is this just the conflict of a content creator? Like, why should I care? Should I not care? I don't know. This is a very sort of off track kind of tangent here, but if anybody else out there is a content creator who has similar feelings, I don't know. I personally really struggle with feeling like I need to be validated constantly because I'm posting online versus trying not to care because I'm trying to post for myself. But if I was really drawing for myself, wouldn't I just not post at all? Is that what I should be doing? Help. I think too hard about things, and I don't know. I just felt like something I wanted to address because I'm trying new things with my channel with shorts. I really don't mind streaming. I like streaming a lot because if I'm gonna work anyways, if people want to interact with me at the same time, I'm totally okay with that. But with shorts, I don't know, it's something about the TikTokification of our lives that really just kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I feel like I'm selling out somehow. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to piss anybody off. Like, if you use TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram, like, that's great for you. And I know a lot of artists use it. This is finished, but, one second. I know a lot of artists use it to learn about new artists and interact, and I think that's great. Just for me, it's just not for me. And I've talked through the final of that third illustration, and I'm on to the fourth illustration. This illustration, I think, is where as I said earlier, I really hit my stride with portraits and painterly style. I drew this based off of the volume 10 cover from Tokyo Ghoul RE. This is Urie, and I really liked that the portrait itself is very simple, but the way Ishida, once again, this is an Ishida illustration, draws the background and sort of like adds like paint splatter and like lots of fun brush strokes really was just something I wanted to try out. And as a result, I did download, as you'll see a bit later, some brushes from the Clip Studio asset store, which really saved my butt. Honestly, yeah, one of the things that I have learned from this video is that if you're going to be purposely trying to create something in a short amount of time, then there's no reason for you to be doing, I don't know, work in a stupid way, so to speak. So, I mean, brushes exist to make your life easier. And with the previous landscape photos, it was more of the grass brushes and the tree brushes that really helped me. And in this one, it's more of the brushes that emulate paint strokes and paint splatter and things like that. Actually, I did go in and start everything with the same flat brush that I use for sketches and line art, and just kind of the beginning of my process every time. So I wanted to get as far as I could with just the flat brush and then go in and add texture at the end, because that would mean I sort of already had the shapes worked out and wasn't just like adding texture where it didn't really need to be. And I think that did work out, because then it's like I'm still sort of learning how to paint texture with an untextured brush, but at the end of the day, like, these textured brushes do exist for a reason, and they're very helpful to have. I've noticed that, I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but Clip Studio Paint, I think the default paint brushes, like the watercolor ones, all of those, they don't really, they're not that good for me. I haven't really enjoyed using them, and while I did try to start with those in this piece and the previous portrait, in the end I just found that I just didn't like them as much as stuff that I could download from the asset store, so I ended up going with that instead. And I gotta say, I do really like the result. I'll look up the brushes that I downloaded and link them in the comments below, because whoever made those brushes saved my life. They were free. I always download free brushes. I don't know. I don't even know how you accumulate Clip Studio. What are they called? Clips? I think that's the currency on Clip Studio Paint. I don't know how you accumulate it. I don't know what it is. I only download free brushes, so that's sort of that. I think that's enough on sort of my process and how I'm feeling generally in this video. I think you guys have a pretty good picture of it. So now I'm going to segue into my favorite conversation, which it's book corner time, where I talk about a book I've read recently and if I liked it or not. Recently I finished a short horror novel called Diavolo, I think. And I think it's by Jennifer Clark, but I don't have the book on me right now, so I'll add a comment if that's wrong. Basically, it was like vacationing in Italy goes wrong, and family is the most defective family, unhealthy family you've ever seen in your life. Like, the epitome of gaslight gatekeep, that was that family. I really did enjoy it, because I'd say almost as scary as the ghost living in the house, it's a haunted house story, was the fact that the family was just like so messed up. I just like, oh man, it felt like no character made a decision that was rational, and sometimes I just have to stop and be like, did that really just happen right now? Like, why are you all being like this? And honestly, it's like one of those things that it's like frustrating, but it's also entertaining to watch because of how I don't know, frantic and horrible it is. I will warn that if you don't want to, or if you're sensitive with like suicidal ideation or themes like that, probably not the book for you. Even for me, I was like, oh, we're going there. Okay, is this book for me? But I finished it. It was a great short read. I really enjoyed it, and perfect finish for the end of the piece. That's Diavola by Jennifer Clark, and that's the last piece of these 4. I hope you liked watching this sort of longer video of mine, seeing these 4 illustrations, and listening to me talk about everything, everywhere, so much. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.